Nick speaking, and welcome to another learning curve video for the Necrons, and this time we are looking at the Overlord. Now if you've been watching my series, in particular the HQ section, you would have heard me talk about the Overlord several times, comparing him to some of the other foot characters that we've got, and basically saying that he's pretty much the best choice. So we are now looking at the Overlord, so let's have a look at the reasons why. Now first of all, the model. This Overlord is the one from the Command Barge, Annihilation Barge kit. I have magnetised him. I've got both arms magnetised. The Resurrection Orb comes off and I can put on that one. So if I'm not taking the orb, I can have him like that, or if he's in the Command Barge, he can hold on to the barge. The other hand is magnetised not because of the weapon options, but for storage purposes mainly. Although who knows, in the future he may want to have a different weapon. You'll also notice that I've converted my Warsight up to have a green rod, because I really like the green rods in my army. So yes, let's have a look at him. Right, so now the reason why I like this guy so much is probably more of a history thing than anything. So in the old codex, the Necron Lord, which was our only HQ, was near as damn it an Overlord. The Overlord's pretty much taken that place. And I'm very, very much used to playing with just one HQ for the Necrons. So having the Overlord in my HQ sort of fits really the way that I play, the way I've always played. I do like some of the other special characters. I've obviously talked about those in the previous videos. But for me, this guy is a good all-round HQ choice. You can either make him very cheap, pretty much no upgrades, although I would always take a Warsight with this guy. Upgrade his Starford Light. It's only 10 points. It's well worth it. We'll talk about why in a minute. And pretty much I'd probably always take Mind Shackle Scarabs. But even with those two upgrades, he's very, very cheap. So if you want just a nice little cheap HQ, bit of a defensive HQ, then he's absolutely fine. And then on the other side of the coin, you can fully kit him out, so, really make this guy hardcore. Pretty much take all of the upgrades. Only one upgrade really is debatable whether you need it or not. So you can make him a little bit more aggressive, really. You can put him in the Command Barge. We will talk about Command Barge in a separate video, not in this video. So, how do you kit him out? So you've mentioned me say the Warsight is pretty much the main option. I've never used him with any other option. I just can't see the point, really, to be fair, because the Warsight gives you +2 to strength. It's AP1 and it's 2d6 for armor penetration against a vehicle. So it's a very, very good all-round weapon, and pretty much the weapon of choice really for this guy. Looking at the other potential upgrades, you've got Sanctuary, which is basically, if you do get a successful will be back, you could potentially get up with 3 wounds. It's quite good. Whether it's worth the points investment, I'm not actually sure. To be fair, I don't tend to use that very often. Mind Shackle Scarabs are pretty much a must with any HQ. If you've got it, take it, because it's a really, really handy piece of war gear. We will talk about this a little bit more when we come to the cryptic side of things, but don't forget, if you are taking a HQ, it's always a good idea to have a cryptic along with the unit, because you don't want to get any bad challenges. If you need to accept a useless challenge, then you can just accept it with the cryptic rather than your big HQ choice. So yeah, bearing that in mind, it is actually worthwhile having a cryptic in your unit. Then you've got the Weave, which gives you a 2+ save, which I do always like to take if I can, if I have the points. 2+ save is pretty decent, along with your Lookout Sir roll. So potentially you've got a 2-up, you've got your Lookout Sir. Very, very useful, and for those reasons alone, I don't tend to take the Phase Shifter. The Phase Shifter is a lot of points. It gives you a 3+ invulnerable save, which sounds fantastic, but like I said, if you've got a 2+ save and you've got a Lookout Sir on a 2+, for those wounds that you can't take, it's almost like an invulnerable save anyway. And if worst case scenario, if you do go down, Then you've got your will be back roll, reanimation protocol roll, which is almost like an invulnerable save. Especially if you've got the resurrection orb, which obviously increases the chances of getting back up. And the resurrection orb, again, it's fairly expensive, but generally I would take the resurrection orb, especially if you've got him amongst some warriors. Now, individual tactics for this guy, probably best to check out my other videos, in particular the Super Phalanx video, where I explain exactly how I use my Super Overlord in that unit of warriors, backed up by the Ghost Arcs. Really powerful little combination. I've got commenters on there as well saying they've tried it, and it really does work. So yeah, go and check that video out. I shall put a link to that in the description below, so that's worth having a look. So yeah, Resurrection Orb, pretty much a given really to take that, unless you're playing low points. And then of course there's the Tachyon Arrow, which is well, 30 points. I mean, it's unlimited range, and yes, it's strength 10, it's AP 1. It's only a once-use weapon, so I mean, unless you're absolutely desperate to have some high-strength, long-range weaponry, it probably isn't really worth taking it. We've got a lot of guns, and okay, we don't have many long-range guns, but we do have a lot of guns, so I usually wouldn't take that. But then Labyrinth, which is also fairly expensive for what it does, because that is also a once-use piece of war gear. I actually think that is really cool piece of war gear. If your Mind Shackle Scarabs fails, or at least your Mind Shackle Scarabs go off first and hopefully reduce a few wounds, especially if you're in a challenge, which is the main reason for using the Labyrinth, you've got a very good chance of taking out the person you're in a challenge with. And then if all else fails, you might have to just hit them with the War Sigh, assuming of course that you survive the attacks. But I do like to have that. It's a very nice little surprise, and I've been using it a lot, especially in that Super Phalanx army. I've used it so much to the point now that my opponent's actually scared of assaulting the unit with this guy in, which is a very useful thing to be able to have, that psychological side of it. And of course, especially when you start taking him in a less powerful form, if you dumb him down, he still has that fear factor, even though he's not geared up as much. So that is worth bearing in mind as well. So overall, the Necron Overlord, like I said, the great thing about him, he's a nice solid choice. You can make him defensive, you can make him attacking. Obviously he can go into Ghost Arc with warriors, he can go in his own command bard, which we're going to talk about in the future videos. And he doesn't really have he doesn't really have any bad things about him apart from the usual Necron stuff. Yes, he is Initiative 2. Sorry, even at Initiative 2 we can compensate for that with things like Mind Shackle Scarabs, and like I said, with the Labyrinth. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a bit of insight into this guy. As I said, if you're just starting out with Necrons, you're not really sure which HQ to go for, then I'd 100% recommend you start with the Overlord, a solid choice. Having said that, the Destroyer Lord stands up there on a pedestal right next to this guy. We are going to take a look at the Destroyer Lord next. So yeah, keep watching, more vids to come. See you in the next video.